Hi, I'm Nicole Burkemper. I'm Associate Professor at St. Louis University, and I am the Director of the ASDP Essentials course for 2019. And I have with me here Dr. Ifeoma Perkins. She is a current Dermatopathology Fellow and also attended the Essentials course in Houston in 2018. And we are going to kind of talk about who attends the course, who this might be geared towards, what you might get out of the course, and some benefits to attending the course. So I'll start and kind of say, my take and how I got involved with the course. My program director for fellowship was actually Dr. Larry Gibson, who has been very instrumental in the course over the last 5 years or so. He was a great mentor of mine and really got the course off to a great start, great faculty, great topics that are discussed. And over the last couple of years, he has gotten some of his former trainees involved in directing the course, different aspects of the course, and I've been very fortunate to be one of those people. And just this last year, I've been asked to now take over the course and direct it. It's been a great experience for me, getting to know the faculty, getting to know some of the attendees, and really kind of understanding what the needs of the people that might be attending the course are and responding to those needs. I think our target audience is pretty vast, of course trainees, and I'd like to get your perspective on that, but then also people that are already in training and just looking for, what are the updates in dermatopathology, what are the things that are out in the literature, the new and upcoming information that people need to know when they're reading out dermatopathology cases on a day-to-day basis. And I think through talking to attendees of the course, all of these attendees have, different perspectives and what they get out of the course. And it's been really rewarding for me to see, how much we have provided to all of these different types of people. So I'd like to actually get your perspective to see what you thought were the great aspects of the course, and how you felt about attending the course for the first time last year.
Sure, I'd be happy to provide that. So as Dr. Burkemper mentioned, I am a second-year clinical dermpath fellow at the University of California, San Francisco, and I did attend the course in this past May, actually. And I found the course to be excellent, actually. It was long enough, but not too long. Like the duration of the course I thought was perfect for a busy fellow schedule. It lasted about 2.5 days, and I thought that timing was perfect. I also thought the content, I kind of went into this course looking for a course that would help me formally prepare for boards, and I definitely got that. The content was fantastic. It covered neoplastic derm path, melanocytic tumors, non-melanocytic tumors. It covered a lot of inflammatory content as well too. And then there was even an entire lecture that was devoted to drug reactions, which, like Dr. Burkemper mentioned, actually included a lot of recent updates in the literature. I personally found that to be very educational, not only for board preparation, but just in anticipation of practice. And even just now as a fellow, when I preview and review cases and write them up on my own. I also thought the slide session was fantastic. I mean, I hadn't really thought about the slide component coming in, how helpful it was going to be. But
you're talking about the live slides.
Yeah. It was really helpful to go, microscope to microscope and actually push glass, which is what happens when you take the boards. It's actually really helpful to go through the motion in a timed format and then to answer questions about that. I thought that was a really good simulation of the actual, a portion of the actual exam. So I found that very helpful. And to be able to walk away too with actual, not only having learned something, but having tools in hand, having the questions from the examination component of the course was very helpful, but also having access to the PDFs and the tons of the video modules that were available were super helpful. I actually found myself referencing it just in sign out, preparing for sign out and things like that every day. You know, actually it was like, there was a course on this. Let me pull this up and see if this patient fits that mold.
And you had ready access to those materials.
I did
awesome.
from the course. So it was helpful to me just in practical, like real life derm path, as well as preparing for the course. I thought your section on clinical dermatology, I'm pathology trained, and so I found your section on clinical dermatology to be super helpful.
Oh, thank you.
Just like rapid fire, 115 different,
It was
like,
rapid.
Yeah, it was rapid, but it was, again, packed a lot of really good high yield information in a short time frame, which again, as a fellow, is exactly what you want. And like you said, I actually met several people that were already out in practice, board certified dermatopathologists that actually attended the course for the purpose of just keeping up with like things that are changing in our subspecialty and getting a little bit of a refresher in certain areas as well too. And so it was cool to just be reminded that this could also be a tool for me, even when I get out in practice as a dermatopathologist.
Right, and we do have a wide variety of faculty. I think, there are people that have been out in practice for 20 years, and then we have people that have not been out in practice for, maybe 1 or 2 years. And I do think that those different perspectives come through, and we do ask our faculty to update their materials every year, and I think our faculty are very engaged in education, and they really want to provide the most updated information to both trainees and people that are out in practice. So I think, I know in the session that I led, I really tried to not just bring out the aspects of clinical dermatology that everybody knows, but sort of those newer entities that you may not see in your fellowship or even in the first couple of years of training, but something that, you should be aware of and, recognize if you see it. So thank you for recognizing that.
Absolutely, and distinguishing things that might look the same from one another.
Right,
for me,
exactly.
At that level, at that point in training, just finishing up my first year, that was the main thing that I was focusing on. How do I distinguish this entity from all the other things that could potentially look like it? So it was very helpful.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think another thing that our course offers, which is valuable not only to trainees but people out in practice, are some sessions on laboratory techniques and laboratory management.
I remember that.
As a dermatology trained dermatopathologist, I feel like some of the laboratory techniques and lab management, we don't learn that stuff in our dermatology residency. And it depends where you train for dermatopathology fellowship, how much exposure you get to that. But I think our course does offer at least a framework, and then of course you know where to look for more specific information on the areas that you feel deficient in. And I think having the exposure to faculty that also, you can go up to after the session
which
and
I did.
ask specific questions. So you talked about this. I have this follow-up question, and I think all of our faculty are so approachable, and I do actually plan to incorporate a little bit more one-on-one interaction with faculty in the 2019 course based on feedback that we've gotten about wanting a little bit more of that one-on-one opportunity. You can choose to take it or not, but I do think that is an aspect that I want to further develop in 2019.
That sounds awesome. I remember being impressed that Dr. Hitchcock gave one of the talks. I was like, this guy's the president of our organization, and he's here talking to us about like lab management, in the big picture, the context of the big picture. He talked about just, making wise decisions as a dermatopathologist, and, when you're not sure what the right decision is, and tough circumstances and lab management, ask questions and who to go to for those questions. And I definitely had some for him about that subject matter afterwards.
And he is confirmed for 2019 as well.
Awesome.
So he will be there.
So everyone should go.
Right, exactly. No, we have a great lineup for 2019 as well. And like you said, we do cover, neoplastic, inflammatory. We're always, kind of revisiting subject matter and trying to make it, very comprehensive. but also manageable in, you know, a
Yeah.
2-day course. And so I think, you know, we've really tried to make that successful.
Yeah, the other thing I'd love to just suggest too for, you know, program directors or fellowship directors, that, you know, if there's a way that they could potentially like support their trainees to consider like support them in their efforts if they're interested in coming to the course, I think it's a really good investment. Because for me, that's what made it possible, was that, you know, my fellowship actually did support me financially.
That's great.
And it was a huge investment in my learning and training and in my board preparation. So I think if possible, if directors, you know, if that's something that they might be interested in, I think that might be something worth talking about with trainees.
And actually it is one of the most cost-effective board review type courses. This is really the only board review course, but there are other courses out there. But when you look at the cost of other courses versus the essentials course, it is really, you know, a great deal. It's a bargain. So,
it is.
But I mean, all of the content that you get, and it's not just the on-site content. You referenced some of the online materials. We're expanding those this year as well. So at the course, you will get presentations, kind of more the formal format from the faculty, but then there's also online content, sometimes more expanded for specific topics, and we are expanding that in an effort to provide not just that on-site education, but as people are preparing to take boards, which you will be doing in the near future, they can reference back to that online material and supplement and enhance their review of the material in textbooks. So I think that's going to be huge moving forward. Not only the online videos, but also the virtual slides that they'll be able to review as well, which you had access to also after the 2018 course. So we're trying to expand that even further.
I think those are all excellent moves. We think it's going to continue to be an incredible resource. One thing too I found very helpful was the fact that I felt like it was for a 2.5-day course, it was super comprehensive. Like,
thank you.
You know, one approach that I had going into considering preparing for boards was actually going through a textbook, or you know what I mean, like cover to cover, which, you know, I'd been doing textbook reading along, you know, throughout the my course, my first year as a fellow anyway. And so I thought, well, maybe should I just sit down and like try and go through this textbook again or whatever. But you know what? This course seriously covered, I swear, like probably like 85% of the high yield material, if not more, that were in the textbook. I actually left the course without feeling the need to necessarily go and do that anymore. You know?
Oh, that's great.
So which, you know, saves me time, which, you know, you don't have a ton of that anyway as a fellow, but saves you tons of time, and it helps you to focus your learning again.
Yeah, our fellow from SLU actually went to the course too, and she had very similar feedback.
Oh, really? Okay,
yes,
cool.
That she felt like, and I think that people learn in different ways, and so, you know, learning from a textbook is great, but sometimes people learn better by hearing the material or hearing and reading it at the same time, and so I think that the course does allow for some variation in people's learning styles, so I think that's also a very valid point. There's also, I mean, this is beyond your level of training, but you can also get maintenance of certification, SAMS credits, and CME from the course. So those people that are attending after they've been out in practice, you know, those are additional benefits that they can glean from the course. And so I think, you know, that's something to really also keep in mind moving forward if you decide to attend the course after you've graduated.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you got so much out of the course. It's been great talking to you. I don't know if you have any other final words of wisdom to trainees out there or people thinking about taking the course, but if you do, I'd be happy to hear them.
Let's see, any other words of wisdom? Well, remember that the faculty also share their contact information.
Oh, yes.
And I remember thinking how awesome it was that now I had this like list of contacts with like prominent faculty, like all over institutions all over the country that had specific areas of like expertise or interests, academic interests, and if I ever had a question, like follow-up question, or even in practice about it, I could shoot them an email and reference the course, and that would be something that they would be totally okay with, and they would welcome. I remember that being really cool, something that I found to be really cool.
I also, I didn't actually realize until I was a director of the course that the luncheon is actually kind of a networking experience too. It's a pretty lengthy lunch at the course, an hour and a half or something.
It's nice
and
too.
you really, it's a nice lunch. But you actually get to network. I met two trainees from China that had traveled all the way to Houston to go to the course. So that was pretty impressive. I was pretty excited about that. It makes you feel good about having a course that people outside of the country are, kind of choosing to go to as like their course for the year. So
that's awesome.
that was a really neat experience. So
I did meet some new people too at that luncheon that you mentioned it. Trainees and non-trainees, and people who are out in practice as well too, and I thought that was cool.
Right, and I always think that at any meeting, the ASDP annual meeting or Essentials course, networking is, one of the added benefits. It may not be the main reason that you're there, but it always adds something to the experience if you can make those personal connections, whether it's with the faculty or with other attendees.
Trainees and colleagues, Yep. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and maybe I'll see you again in 2019 at the course if you choose to attend, and your program pays for it. So
maybe.
But thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you at the 2019 Essentials course.